My name is Emily and I'm 35. I've been caring for our home for 10 years now. My husband, Michael, is a doctor. We don't have children, but we've been fairly happy. Then one day, everything shifted. Michael came home late, like he usually did, and dropped a bombshell. He wanted a divorce. "I'm marrying another woman," he said. I was stunned. "What do you mean?" "We didn't marry for love," he added. And he was right. Our marriage had been more of an arrangement. His parents wanted him to settle down, and I suppose I seemed like a suitable match. We barely knew each other before we tied the knot. The only thing we truly shared was our last name. Looking back, maybe I was drawn to the thought of having the same last name. So we rushed into marriage, and for a while, we managed just fine. I never imagined we'd end up separating after 10 years. Even though our marriage wasn't built on love, we'd been together for so long. But now, out of nowhere, you want to marry someone else? "When did you start cheating on me?" I asked. But Michael denied it. He said he met a nurse at the hospital about a year ago and was captivated by her charm. He claimed he was exhausted from living with someone dull like me. I was stunned and wounded. "How can you say that after all these years?" I asked. But Michael remained icy. He said living with me had been like hell, and that he was finished. I agreed to the divorce, even though it shattered my heart. But then Michael dropped yet another bombshell. He said we didn't even need to go through the legal process because he had never officially registered our marriage. We had just been living together, not legally married. I felt betrayed and furious. Michael had kept this secret from me all these years, and now he was using it to avoid giving me anything in the separation. That day was supposed to be when he submitted our marriage registration, but instead, it was the day our marriage officially ended. I couldn't go because of an urgent issue, but it turns out he never filed it. Not filed? Are you serious? We've been living as a married couple for 10 years. It's impossible that you didn't submit it. Normally, yes. That's why I made that rule at the beginning. If you had gone to the office, everything would have been ruined. When we got married, we set some rules. I, as a homemaker, would take care of all the household duties. I was given an allowance, and part-time work was forbidden. And Michael would handle all governmental and official matters. "Why would you do something like that?" I asked. "Because I was about to be forced into a marriage with someone I didn't love. It's not like I was going to submit it willingly. I was saving marriage for someone I was meant to be with." "Then you should have refused the proposal from the start." "I couldn't refuse. My parents are stubborn and wouldn't listen." "What would have happened if I said I didn't want to marry? Plus, I wanted a housekeeper." "A housekeeper?" "I'm a busy doctor and can't always manage household chores, so I decided to marry you as a housekeeper. It was a good arrangement for you too, wasn't it? You could eat well and have a roof over your head without working. You seemed desperate to get married as well, right? You were probably feeling pressured because your friends were getting married. Even though we weren't legally married, you were seen as the woman who married a doctor. This 10-year relationship was a win-win for both of us. That's all it was. And it ends today. You should be thankful for the good times you had. Now you have to live on your own without depending on others. I can't believe this. Oh, and one more thing. Don't tell my parents about this. If you do something foolish, you know what will happen to your father, right? My father, who runs a medical equipment sales company, has a contract with the hospital where Michael works. It was through my marriage to him that this connection was created. If I told my in-laws, he was implying he'd cut off the contract as a threat. In other words, he was warning me not to do anything unnecessary. "It's your fault for being fooled." "How pathetic. To be tossed out with nothing," he said, laughing. But the one who would be cast out without realizing it was actually him. I couldn't stop myself from laughing. What's so funny all of a sudden? I can't believe you became a doctor with that level of knowledge. What do you mean? I knew all along about your mistress and that you never filed our marriage registration. That's impossible. That's why I've been getting ready, waiting for the day you'd bring it up yourself, preparing to take my revenge on you. In truth, I had a feeling about my husband's affair for the past 6 months, but I didn't have solid proof to confront him. So I decided to hire a private investigator to look into his infidelity. Ma'am, there are 2 things I need to tell you, the investigator said. First, your husband is indeed having an affair. We obtained evidence of him entering a hotel with a nurse from his workplace. Second, from their conversations, there's a possibility that you two are not legally married. Not legally married? What does that mean? I overheard your husband and his mistress at a cafe. He said they didn't need to worry about alimony or property division since they never submitted a marriage registration. What? I can't believe it. We've been living as a married couple for 10 years. I don't know why he didn't submit the marriage registration. That's why he never allowed me to handle any official procedures. Yes, that seems to be the case. I can't believe this. How could this happen? It's rare to hear about not submitting a marriage registration for 10 years, but it's not unheard of. This is too much. Am I just supposed to accept this? If we were never married from the beginning, there's nothing I can do. Not necessarily. What do you mean? Let's make him pay for deceiving you for 10 years. First, we need to prepare without him noticing. And so I began preparing with the investigator to punish my husband. So what if you knew we were never married from the start? Then it doesn't matter what I do with other women. I don't need to take any responsibility, he said, trying to dismiss his actions. You said I was pitiful for not knowing anything, but it seems you were the one who was pitiful. What do you mean? We're considered to be in a common law relationship on paper. So what? You might not know this, but you can actually claim alimony and divide property in a common law relationship. What? He didn't realize that registering as a de facto marriage would come back to haunt him. You can make claims in a common law relationship. It's not widely known, but yes, you can. Of course, there are certain conditions. Looking at your case, it seems you meet them. What are these conditions? A common law relationship is established based on 2 criteria. First, both parties must have the intent to marry. If it's just living together, that's cohabitation. Mutual intent to marry is essential. That seems subjective and difficult to determine. For example, if you had a wedding ceremony or were recognized as a couple by others, it can be acknowledged. We had a wedding ceremony, and our parents and friends recognize us as a couple. Then the first criterion is met. The second is living as if married. This includes sharing a household life for over 3 years. You've been living together as a couple for over 10 years. As a homemaker, you've clearly shared household finances. This is recognized as a marital relationship. So that means if you can provide proof of what we discussed, you can claim alimony and divide property. I'm not an expert in this area, so I'll introduce you to a lawyer. You can work with them to bring him down. After consulting the lawyer I was referred to, I was told that I could indeed claim alimony and property division from my husband. So I'm going to demand alimony and property division from you, I informed my husband, who turned pale. The confidence he had shown just moments earlier vanished. But even if you can claim alimony and property division, you're just an unemployed woman. Do you plan to rely on your parents after being kicked out? Didn't I say I was preparing? I've already secured a job starting next month. I've also found a new place. Don't worry about me. Why did you think a clueless homemaker like me would be helpless? The tables had turned, so I'll make sure to discuss this with your parents, just so you know. Do you not care what happens to your father? If they want to terminate the contract, let them. Sure, you are the link to the hospital, but the contract continued because of my father and his company's efforts. Whether they keep the contract is up to them. Let's see if they'll break a contract just because the doctor's wife of 10 years was a lie. Try telling them that. My father and I won't be affected if the contract is broken over this. It only shows the depth of their trust. We'll simply find another hospital to partner with. Saying this, I took out my phone. You're not calling your parents, are you? That's exactly what I'm doing. Our parents think we're still married. It's only natural to inform them if this relationship is ending. Then, to my surprise, my husband began apologizing to me. Please let me talk to them. Don't call? Why? You know how strict my parents are. If they find out about this, I'm finished. What does that have to do with me? Huh? You're asking me not to tell the truth because your parents are strict? Are you serious? You could have refused the marriage from the beginning if you had no intention of marrying. After 10 years of a selfish marriage, you're scared of your parents finding out? I can't accept such a convenient excuse, but I can accept your story. I'll make sure to tell both your parents and mine. And so I called both sets of parents. All four were stunned after hearing my story, and a meeting was quickly arranged at our house. I've heard everything over the phone. Is it true that you pretended to be married for 10 years without submitting a marriage registration? Speak up, you foolish son. It's true. I didn't submit it. Why would you do such a thing? Didn't you think about how Emily would feel? I had no choice. No choice, you say? How can you even say that? It's actually your fault, Dad and Mom. I didn't want to get married yet. You started searching for a bride on your own, saying it was time for me to marry. You arranged meetings and tried to push a marriage on me. You're the one who agreed to the marriage, aren't you? I had to agree. If I had refused, you would have made a scene about it. So I decided to go through with it. If you were determined to marry, why didn't you submit the marriage registration? I read about a man online who was in the same situation. He didn't want to marry but had to because of his parents. He lived a married life without submitting the registration, then revealed the truth when he found someone he truly loved. That's disgraceful. And what happened to that man in the end? He's now married to the person he loves and has a real marriage. So I too will marry my girlfriend and have a real marriage. Then my parents, who had been silent until now, finally spoke after hearing his reasoning. A real marriage, huh? Sure, you may not have had a love marriage, but do you remember what you said at the wedding? We will never forget to care for each other and build a home full of smiles. What did those words mean to you? What were we shown then? We entrusted our daughter to you, hoping for her happiness. But you deceived her for 10 years without submitting a marriage registration. Did you build a home full of smiles? Now you're leaving her for another woman. Can someone who acts without a shred of consideration, even if they change partners, truly have a real marriage? Well, I was happy you married our daughter, not just because you were a doctor. I believed she could build a happy home with someone as sincere as you, but it seems we were wrong and deceived. And you threatened our daughter that if she told us about this, you'd cut off the contract with our company. What? Seriously? If you're going to threaten our daughter, we'll terminate the contract ourselves. Be warned. We will tell the truth when asked why. If you do that, there will be rumors at the hospital. Rumors? Well, yes. But that's the consequence of your own actions. You were the one who threatened us with ending the contract. My husband was in complete panic at this unexpected turn of events. Please wait. This is getting out of control. Let's just talk. Don't mess with us. My father-in-law grabbed my husband by the collar, furious. We didn't raise you to be such a scoundrel. What were you thinking? Father, please stop. By not submitting the marriage registration, you might have thought you were helping yourself. But because of your selfish actions, Emily was strung along for 10 years. What were you thinking? Causing such trouble for others? The living room fell silent. My husband, faced with my father-in-law's words, had nothing more to say. Emily and your parents, I'm truly sorry for the trouble caused by this idiot. No, you parents shouldn't apologize. It's not your fault. However, it's partly our responsibility as parents for allowing him to act this way. For now, we'll take him home and make sure he doesn't continue his reckless behavior. We'll handle the aftermath properly. We're very sorry for all this. And with that, my husband was taken away by his parents back to his childhood home. You've been through a lot. For now, you should come back home and rest. We'll think about what to do later. You don't need to worry about anything right now. My parents thought I was completely drained and deceived. They spoke to me with such warmth. Thank you. But I won't go back home yet. I still have things I need to handle. I declined their offer and remained in my own house. What I had to do was prepare for the final settlement with my now ex-husband. Gathering proof for our common law relationship, I was getting ready to claim alimony and divide our assets. A few weeks later, a meeting with a lawyer was arranged. However, even if I agree to alimony, why should I split my property? She's been a homemaker for 10 years, never working a single day. All the furniture, clothes, food. I paid for everything. And now you're telling me to hand over the money I worked so hard for? He ranted, unable to accept that his money would be shared with me. Yes, that's correct. The money you earned and the furniture are subject to property division. Why does it have to be that way? Who did the housework while you were working? Who cooked the meals with the groceries you bought? That's irrelevant now. No, it's very relevant. A homemaker is entitled to proper division because housework and childcare have economic value. Speaking as a human being, not just a lawyer, do you think housework is something anyone can do? That it's simply expected of a homemaker? The reason you could live comfortably was because of her support. Don't misunderstand that. What? And this situation is the result of your own actions, yet you have the audacity to be selfish. What did you say? Never mind. Anyway, she's entitled to half of the assets for property division. That's how it works. Damn. Regarding alimony, we intend to claim $100,000 from you. $100,000? Why so much for a relationship that wasn't even a marriage? It's precisely because you weren't married. Normally, alimony claims in common law relationships range from $10,000 to $40,000. However, in your case, you pretended to be married for 10 years and selfishly tried to throw her out when you found someone else. The amount is determined by the severity and duration of your actions. But still, you may think 10 years is just a short time, but it's longer than you realize. During that period, she devoted herself to you, believing you were a married couple. You have no right to complain after betraying her. A perfect rebuttal. He couldn't say anything and reluctantly agreed to my demands. Then I also sent a notice of claim for alimony to his mistress. I knew who and where she was, thanks to the investigator. As he had said, she was a nurse working at the same hospital. The mistress, having heard from him that there was no possibility of alimony or property division, must have been completely shocked by the contents of the claim. Wait a minute. This isn't what you told me. What do you want? I told you not to talk to me at the hospital. I got this from your wife. You said there wouldn't be any alimony because you weren't married. What is this about? I later learned that, in a panic after being served with the alimony claim from me, she confronted him at the hospital with the notice I had sent. Okay, let's talk about this later. Not here. There are too many people around. We'll both be in trouble if this turns into a rumor. I don't care about that. I can't pay this kind of alimony. You said it was fine, so you should pay it for me. What? I won't pay a single penny. You were the one who wanted this relationship. You said I was the only one for you, that you wanted to marry me. Hey, quiet down. Everyone can hear us. Just so you know, I'm not the one at fault here. If you want to make amends with your wife, do it yourself. Tell her I don't owe her a cent and that you'll handle everything. Wait. Hold on. Hey. Hey. This confrontation led to the exposure of their affair to the entire hospital. It quickly became the talk of the place. Then the final blow came from my father's request to the hospital. I apologize, but we would like to terminate our contract at the end of next month. Then the hospital, aware of the rumors, asked my father, "Excuse me for asking, but is the reason for canceling the contract related to Dr. Michael's affair?" It's already become a rumor. Yes, a nurse presumed to be involved caused quite a scene. I never imagined he had been pretending to be married for 10 years without submitting a marriage registration. I never expected it to turn out like this. You mean, he never submitted the marriage registration? Weren't you aware that he hadn't submitted the marriage registration? All we knew was that he, being married, had an affair. What do you mean he didn't submit the marriage registration? With my father's request, it was exposed that he had been deceiving me for 10 years by never submitting the marriage registration. The news spread among the other nurses. Dr. Michael deceived his wife for 10 years without submitting a marriage registration, and he had an affair with a nurse? How disgraceful. How could he do something like that? Can someone really go 10 years without noticing? Apparently, Emily's maiden name was the same, and he handled all the official paperwork. That's terrifying. The rumors spread not only among the hospital staff, but also to patients, and both Michael and his mistress were met with cold stares. Unable to withstand the pressure, they soon resigned from the hospital. As my father later told me, "Did you manage to get the alimony?" "Yes, I received payments from both him and his mistress. She refused to pay until the very end, insisting she had been deceived. But the lawyer made it clear that her argument wouldn't stand, and she reluctantly agreed to pay." That's good. What about you, Dad? Was the contract canceled after all? No, that's no longer happening. He resigned, and since our company is trusted, the hospital asked us not to terminate the contract. We couldn't cancel it after they requested that. That's a relief. Then I began a new chapter in a new place and was living happily. About a year and a half later, my ex-husband contacted me. "Is it true you got remarried?" I had married a man I met at work, and somehow he had found out. "I wonder whose number this is." "You went through the trouble of changing your number just to contact me?"